Hello and welcome to Season 5 of the Dormick Park Podcast Show. Over the past 4 seasons, we have featured exciting guests and have trained several new podcast hosts and production technicians who have recorded, edited, and produced the show.
This show is a great way to get to know the Dormick family a bit better to help build community. We are your hosts,
Emerson
and Cheyenne.
On today's episode, we're going to feature Mr. Hipwell.
Funny, that has taken 45 episodes to finally get him on the show.
Yeah, he's always behind the scenes.
This episode will be presented a little differently. Mr. Hipwell was a guest on another podcast over a year ago, and we got to special permission to use that interview here.
Mr. Hipwell was chatting with podcast host Makayla Leonard, which is Mrs. Leonard's daughter, where he had a conversation about arts and education.
This episode will be worth checking out as he will reveal some behind-the-scenes stories and tricks of how our Dormick music videos are produced. You are going to want to hear this, so let's get started.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Arts for Children, the podcast where we discuss the importance of arts in today's children's lives. Today's topic is arts and education. I have a very special guest, Mr. Shane Hipwell. Shane is a grade 5 teacher at Dormick Park Elementary School. He also helps with arts around the school. Shane, thank you for being on today's show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Now, Shane, how long have you been teaching?
I've been teaching 17 years in the Abbotsford School District. 13 of those years has been at this school at Dormick Park Elementary and teaching grades 4 and 5.
I understand that you incorporate arts into your teaching plan. What kind of arts do you share with your students?
I came from a fine and performing arts background in university, and I've I have a passion for all forms of art. I was very lucky to bring a clay kiln to the school, so we do a lot of hands-on three-dimensional art pieces.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's really good to get kids experiencing things they've never necessarily tried before. But I'm pretty much, my passion is in the media and music performing arts. One of my passions is video editing and sound engineering. And my passion is even in teaching language arts and all the different kinds of, and social studies even, adding the element of film. So I try to get the kids thinking in shots. So framing up as what they would see on a screen and try to frame it up shot by shot. And if there's an opportunity to have another medium to show their work, by all means, I always try to bring that gear in. I have about 30 plus guitars sitting in my room. Very lucky. We got those from a grant a few years ago, and we don't have a lot of room at our school. So I volunteered to house them, and it's been a blessing in disguise because we were able to access them daily. And so it's a lot of fun bringing in the musical element as well.
The kids must love that.
We have a lot of fun, and we have also a drum set sitting here that was gifted to us from the Devon Clifford Foundation. And we didn't have room, and I volunteered to take it. So my room, as you can see, is it's quite full, and it serves a great purpose. It's also a student work area, but we're slowly, kids are getting the opportunity to learn the drums, and we just add that to our daily jam sessions with the guitars.
Wow. So with all that being said, have you always incorporated arts into your teaching, or has this just become a recent thing?
I've always had some form of arts. I just love collaborating with people. But when I was a starting teacher, I was a teacher on call, and I went to a school and I was blown away. This was early 2000s, and I saw a grade 5 student editing video on a computer.
Oh,
and
wow.
I've never seen that up to that point. I just thought it was something that you see in the production world and behind the scenes on TV. But this one particular student was editing a video, putting crossfades, music, and titles, and just making this presentation look so seamless and easy. And she was, 10 years old?
10 years old.
I was blown away. I thought, I got to learn this. So I just took that under my my time and just started working toward that. And then later started applying that as I learned more each year.
So based off of that student, I guess you would say she has some sort of creative outlet in using her video editing. Do you think it's important that students have that creative outlet?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm a firm believer in allowing students the opportunity. Every student should have that opportunity to try it. You never know if this is something they're going to explore. But I just think it's a really engaging medium or outlet to take whatever you're working on, something in kind of personal planning or health and careers, or something in social studies, stories and just to use a technological backdrop for to kind of collaborate and work together. I think it's really engaging. I know in the era of YouTube, I mean, you've seen there's quite a few bad YouTube videos out there.
Absolutely.
And so in a way, I just kind of want to offer something 21st century kind of learning to kids where they can kind of apply that creative outlet. And I'm trying to get, like I mentioned earlier, about thinking in shots, but planning their video a little more than just turning a camera on and letting it record, but actually, giving them the understanding that you need not necessarily a great camera, but a good camera helps, but having the right lighting, having sound. A lot of people don't factor that into their creative outlet as well. And really dressing up the performance and then giving an audience, and of course, putting things online. Your audience base definitely increases for sure. So hopefully kids my care in grade 5 are heading on to middle school, and they'll use some of the learning that they've hopefully acquired and apply it, and maybe put some new content out there that will impress me or blow my mind, or it'd be kind of neat to see some what my students can do.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, I dabble a little bit in film editing and stuff with my YouTube videos, and I think seeing what children are able to do nowadays with the editing, I'm just learning how to do all this stuff, and I'm talking to all these kids, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I started that like 3 years ago. Like I already knew that." And I'm like,
Exactly.
"You're 10 years old. How can that happen?" But it's today's society, I guess.
Right. Exactly. I mean, people can do this all from their tablets or their smartphones, but yeah, I still like having a good power horse computer. To add those elements.
So at Dormick Park, there are a lot of children that I know of that have behavioral issues, specifically in your class as well as my mom's class, who also teaches here. And I think, do you think that it's important for them to have performing arts, and do you think it helps them?
Yeah, absolutely. I can't really think of any statistics or a study that comes to mind about, relating to behaviorally challenged students. But for me, it just comes down to relationships. And right from day one, I'm forming relationships with kids. And it sure helps, bringing in the music. It's engaging. I think a lot of kids, they want to play guitar, and they want to rock out for sure, and they really want to learn the drums.
They want to be rock stars.
They want to be rock stars, and just forming the relationships first, I think. And when my students get to know me, they see that I'm very transparent. I'm very passionate about things that inspire me, like music. And so when they see my enthusiasm, my energy, when we're playing, sometimes I'm jumping around, or
I've witnessed this. He definitely does that.
They feed off that, and so we'll actually have a good, a jam session, and the energy is just really high, really positive, and I think I find our relationships are closer for adding that element. I mean, I remember this kid a couple years ago. He's walking down the hall, and we just happened to be jamming, and he's looking in the window, and I find out after, he's like, "Oh, I really wish I could be in Mr. Hipwell's class." Well, I just said, "Well, buddy, yeah, we're rocking, we're having a good time. We were just doing math like 5 minutes ago before you peeked into the classroom." And so for me, I find with behavior, it's we're here for 6 hours a day. I mean, we're not doing math for 6 hours a day. There's a lot of different subject areas. Being a generalist teacher, I love it. Like, 'cause I can, I'm not locked down to a specific schedule, and I just love that we can, we'll be doing some core work, and then all of a sudden we break. We do a jam break. We break up for 5-10 minute jam, and then like some classrooms will do a body movement break, a brain break of some sort, and for my case, we'll do something musical. And I find that it just works for our transitions into the next thing. Yeah, well, and also with the jam sessions, anybody who knows Dormick Park knows about your incredible music videos that you guys put out in the past several years. As I know you are part of the behind-the-scenes team that put these together. Can you tell us about the ideas and how those music videos came to be? Yeah, I had a very supportive administrator years back, Lisa Langeberry. She just saw my passion, and she said, "Well, why are you not doing this more?" And so just encouraging, and we put together a few staff videos for, say, Christmas or something. And I think the kids like to see their teachers and the staff kind of, goofing around singing or whatever.
Of course they do.
So we did, I think the first video we did was a carpool karaoke, and it was quite funny. And then we followed up with something in the spring with what do teachers do after hours. And we did this whole fun kind of, we're racing chairs down the hall with actual teachers in the chairs. And
that sounds like so much fun to film.
We had a lot of fun. We brought in a drone, and we had a lot of fun, a lot of enthusiasm. And so that was kind of the start of it. But I had this idea, a really popular YouTube series called Play for Change. And it's about these guys will go around the world. They'll actually fly to different countries, and they'll bring their gear with them and set up these microphones and cameras on the street corners and film street musicians playing a whole variety of different instruments, like really good musicians.
Oh, wow.
And there's a series, I know there's a compilation album that came out, but anyway, at the time there was a song, Stand By Me, that song, and they just had it starting track by track, and all the street musicians would have headphones on and they'd be playing to somebody, and then they would actually kind of, the song would just evolve with all these amazing different cultures and musical instruments all playing the same song. It was amazing. So I had this vision of actually doing something with Dormick Park and our feeder schools with Abbey Middle and Abbey Senior. I thought it'd be kind of neat to actually touch base with some of our former Dormick students who are now all the way up into grade 11 and 12 who still play music in some form. And I actually touched base with a few of them and said, hey, would you be interested in doing a song, kind of like a collaboration where we kind of copy that idea where, they're just on location somewhere and we kind of put their name and credit. We tried that, but it turned into a bigger task than once we started exploring and trying to organize people's schedules, it wasn't working too well. So that was the inspiration. So the choir happened to be singing a Bruno Mars song, Count on Me, right, and it was going really well. I think we went to a festival with that song, got some really good feedback from an adjudicator, and we thought, well, we know this song really well. What if we did this song? But we brought in students from all over the school, and we teach them how to play certain instruments. So our school is chock-blocked full of instruments. We have glockenspiels and all these percussion instruments. And we thought, well, let's try and teach some of these kids how to play these, and we'll see if we can add that onto the song. I think we even had a teacher that played the cello. And
yeah, you did.
Yeah, we just, anybody that could play something, we tried to record them, and we taught kids how to play. And one guy, Matt, he's in grade 9 now. He learned the electric guitar and learned the 4 chords that he needed.
Just picked it up just like that.
Yeah, and it was a lot of fun. And we had that vision. We kind of wanted to do that where we were kind of on location. But that was, I have to say, my favorite process, because it involved the whole school. It was such a neat thing. Now I'll let you in on a little secret of what we do.
All right.
This is exclusive, so don't tell anybody. No.
Okay.
Our videos, we've had a lot of fun with them, but being a sound guy, I really value good production. And so what we do is I have a mixing board in the classroom, some good quality microphones. And so we actually capture the audio here in the classroom, or what they do in the studio. They would capture the audio first, work on it, mix it, EQ it, master it, finish the audio track first, and then we'll do the video. So that Count on Me audio track started in January in my colleague Kale Standage's classroom with a guitar, a small mixer, a click track, some headphones, and we started. So everything that we did on that song was built starting with Kale's guitar.
Wow.
And then we just added layer upon layer, and then we added almost a bit too much, so we had to start taking some things off until we were happy with the actual mix. And then I think we filmed the video in May, and it was like a beautiful hot week of weather, and so we took the cameras outside and we just sort of threw some microphones and headphones for kind of staged it a little bit, and that went really, really well. I think that was really, really good because you can hear all the instruments being played rather than recording that audio live. We've done a little bit of that, but I think you have a bit more control that way. So a little bit of a secret. We've kind of taken that into another series we did the year after called Toonie Tuesday. And we came up with this idea, Kale and I, to actually have a video every week. So some of them were very raw. Yeah, it's a bit ambitious, I think. But it was, we started with sometimes just something that was going on in a classroom that was really raw. And then we started dressing it up a little bit, again, doing the audio beforehand, and then taking the cameras outside and capturing the quality there. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. That's a bit of the secrets to our Dormick Park videos.
Well, thank you for the secrets.
You're welcome.
So with all of these concepts, do the students help come up with them, or is it just the teachers who kind of...
I think it's a bit of both. We did a song called See You Again. Who's that by again? Kofla. Wiz
Khalifa?
Yeah, there you go. Wiz
Yeah.
Khalifa. And it was a really popular song a few years back. And I like to play music in my classroom all the time and while they're working. And that song happened to come on. And this particular class knew that song really well. And they started just singing along and singing along well. And I just remember stopping saying, wow, man, you guys sound great.
Just the magic of singing.
It was, and I was going to say we should almost add that as a Toonie Tuesday song, but we actually ended up including the whole school on that, and that was a lot of fun. That was a really good kind of collaborative, and that just came from the kids. Actually, just the song just happened to come on, and they sang it, and that was a really good one as well too. Another girl by the name of Ava did this song by Serena Ryder, and she kind of had this version. I thought, hey, let's see how you sound. You hear them singing, and I thought, well, what would it sound like if we put a microphone on you and slap a pair of headphones on? And and I think one of the highlights for me doing this is working with the kids is like recreating a studio effect where they got the backtrack in their head, they hear their voice with reverb, and it sounds amazing, and you just see their eyes just light up like, wow, oh, we made a mistake, all right, let's back up, let's take it again. And
they're
so
getting to hear that studio kind of
and
thing.
And Ava had this blues voice that nobody knew of, and she just as soon as she belted out, people went crazy about that on Facebook.
If you guys haven't heard that song, you should listen to it because it's fantastic.
It's called Sing Sing Sing. Yeah. The kids kind of do that. When we hear people, we say, hey, what do we need to put these two kids together, or these three, or this quartet, or this group, and try lay down some tracks. And one year we did a song by Fireflies by Owl City, and we thought, well, instead of doing the techno version, let's make our own version. We did an acoustic one, I believe, and you were part of that.
I was
the vision too. And we had these two great kids that sang it in grade 4. We loved it. It was essentially, the song was done. We're like, okay, well, let's make plans. We'll work on the video.
Absolutely done. 100% done.
We were coming up with a video concept, and then we moved on to something else, as we do. And we kind of, that project got shelved for like an entire calendar year. And it went by, and I remember like coming across, oh man, this was really good. We got to do something. These guys are going to move on to middle school. We should actually like finish this, put this out there. But as we listened to it, we realized that their voices were grade 4, and they're now grade 5. They're a whole year older. They sound different. So we thought, well, you know what? Let's re-record your vocals, and we did. And we actually added some harmony to it, and that was a lot of fun and great. So I see this as a collaboration. We have ideas, but I'm now, because we've been doing this, I have kids come, hey, can we try this song? Can we try this song? And so I'm always like, yeah, a big advocate for sure. Let's give this a try. You never know.
I'm game. Let's do it.
Yeah, it's so much fun. I mean, when you're in a job that you love, which is, I love teaching. I love teaching all subjects, but to actually be creative in your job each day like this, oh man, it's great. So you can see I'm really like lit up right now. I'm really jacked up on talking about this, and so you can imagine my students feed off on that too, and so the energy gets really intense. So a lot of fun.
That's
for sure.
Awesome. So we've been talking a lot about your students, but we have a little bit of a treat for our listeners today. We have a clip of some of the students of Dormick Park performing their cover of Bruno Mars' song Count on Me. You can find all of the music videos on Shane's YouTube channel, Shane Hipwell. And ladies and gentlemen, the students of Dormick Park.
If you're tossing and you're turning and you just can't fall asleep, I'll sing a song beside you. And if you ever forget how much you really mean to me, every day I will remind you. Oh, find out what we're made of when we are called to help our friends in need. You can count on me like 1, 2, 3, I'll be there. And I know when I need it, I can count on you like 4, 3, 2, you'll be there. 'Cause that's what friends are supposed to do, oh yeah. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Wow, what incredible voices your students have.
Thank you. I think the lead singer, she was in grade 3. That's a grade 3 voice.
Yeah, she must have been.
Yeah, and she, I remember I was in the gym doing a basketball practice, and I remember my principal and your mom came barging in, and then, like, I was in the middle of coaching a drill or something, and they're like, yeah, Mr. Hipwell, stop, come here for a second. I'm like, all right, hang on, everyone. I step out into the hall, and here's the student, and they're like, quick, sing for him, go. And she just starts singing the line. And I think we found our soloist. It was really, really awesome.
I remember my mom coming home and telling me about it and just being like, we didn't even know she could sing. And then she opened her mouth and she could sing. This amazing voice came out of her. Yeah,
exactly. And now the kids coming up, they're seeing kind of what the projects we do, and they're letting me know that, hey, I can sing. I'd like to do that.
Yeah.
But anyway.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
All right. So I also understand that Dormick Park has a podcast that is completely run by the students.
Mm-hmm.
Was it important to you to have the students create, record, and edit the podcast?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the podcast show started with me just reading with kids and just listening to them read out loud. And there was this one particular class that I started laughing, not at them, but their voices were just perfect. They were different. And we were reading this novel, and they were just reading as they would. And one boy in particular just had this really unique voice, and it was so fluent, so accurate, so just so engaging and expressive to listen to. And so I kind of stopped and said, I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at you guys. You guys sound amazing. It's almost like you guys should be on a podcast. And they're all like, yeah, we should. And so then they're like, hey, yeah, about that podcast. So I thought, I should probably learn how to do a podcast. So I ended up giving it to them. Now, the idea for them to entirely produce it and run it, of course, I'm guiding them away in the back scenes. It's when you listen to the show, I mean, there's no adults. The only adults in it are the guests, and the students, they write the question lines. They're behind the scenes editing and recording, setting up microphones. So we don't just put a recorder in there. We're actually using real quality microphones, a mixer. We're importing into a big Mac computer, and there's a bit of post-production that has to happen. But a few years ago, we did some videos when the new curriculum landed in BC. Yep. And we have 5 core competencies at the time. They were communication was one of them. And I remember we did a bunch of series of videos that we put out there. We wanted to educate our parents about the new curriculum, and these videos that we filmed were entirely student based. So there was a lot of language in that video that kids, I know this one grade 2 girl had to memorize some really technical words.
I remember even reading the core competencies and thinking, I can't even say those.
Yeah, the I can statements. They were great. And so they spoke to the camera, and they showed how they demonstrated those core competencies in their classroom. You never once saw an adult in any of these videos. And so we ended up putting them out there, and with the power of social media and Twitter hashtags, we ended up putting them out there on Twitter. And we had they actually went all over the world, and we tracked them, and we had university professors commenting on them. And I can't believe this. It's all driven by the kids. And so that was a really unique opportunity that put something kind of new out there rather than just a talking head to the camera. It was all done through the eyes of the kids. And so this show needed to be just that. And so it was really neat to get the kids, I would of course line up guests. We had we had actual radio DJ on the show, Curtis Pope from Country 107.
Oh, very cool.
It was great and a lot of fun. And we've had, we got our school had a facelift done with a new siding. So I brought in Zach and his construction crew. We interviewed them about life in construction. How do you get into that? It's a good kind of show and tell to the kids. We had a registered nurse, a dance. You were on our show actually.
I was.
Yeah, talking about we were talking over lunch, I think, about being on the set of Supergirl or something, and what's it like? And you're just like, it was so fascinating. Just kind of what you have to do. You're walking across the street, and the director says cut, and you have to freeze, and you got to back yourself up and take it again. And I just thought it was really interesting.
Exactly what it's like.
Yeah. So the kids just to kind of give that opportunity to chat, and so a lot of them they find their voice, and they like to. We're going into season 4 of that podcast show, the Dormick Park Podcast Show, and so it's available everywhere. It's on Apple Podcasts. It's also on Spotify and Stitcher and Chromecasts and those sorts of things. So if you check out the Dormick Park Podcast Show, we're just launching into season 4, hoping to again bring on more guests. And one of my most inspiring guests, I think, was somebody a principal actually in Michigan, and we actually over like Skype over the internet, we actually
wow.
interviewed them and some of his students, and it was really neat to do that. We formed a neat relationship there, and it's just to kind of go a little bit international.
Getting that outside perspective.
Yeah, it was really neat just to try. I'm trying to get more exposure into the classroom too, and just show the kids what's out there. And then they're also learning kind of just we're adults, we're just talking here. There's a question line, but we kind of deviate off it a little bit, trying to get the kids to do the same. Just jump off, have that conversation, so it's a bit more fluid rather than just back and forth.
Yeah.
So little tricks of the trade, and again, something they could use in their careers. Podcasts. I love listening to them. I find them very interesting, especially on my drive. I like listening to music, but definitely I find my mind while I'm driving to be engaged with some good contents and people telling a good story.
Putting a nice podcast on while you're driving down the freeway.
Exactly. Yep.
I would definitely recommend listening to the podcasts. They are absolutely wonderful. So Shane, I have one more question for you, and I believe this is a very important question. Do you think children benefit from having fine arts taught at school?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm a bit biased, but at the same time, I do believe all students deserve equal opportunity. I mean, we have kids that are natural athletes, the creative arts for sure. I know Google, I think they hire what part of their requirements. So you're a numbers guy, or you're great at coding, but they're actually looking for more. Like, do you have a creative side? Are you a musician? Are you an artist?
They want presenters.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think definitely giving people that opportunity. For me, I actually sing in a choir out in Chilliwack where I live, and I find like every time I leave Wednesday night, I just feel good. And it's funny, after I did this back in high school, and then 20 years passed, and then I joined this again with my wife, and I just forgot how much I just loved being part of a choral group. And so something after I joined, I came across like 3 different stories. 2 of them were studies that just popped up on my social media feed about the benefits of music, and more specific, singing, to your mental health and also to your well-being, your mental well-being. I also heard a story just after that too. One of my favorite musicians, David Gilmour from Pink Floyd, the guitarist and singer, he sponsored a choir in a prison in the UK. And this choir would meet every week. And these are people in this choral group would actually, part of their probation and the rehabilitation into society after they're released would be to join a community choir. And that would be the requirement. And they actually showed that they were much more adjusted, much more happier from just doing that, and from singing,
incredible.
From having that music influence in their lives. And so, I'm singing here on the front line in grade 5, and just the kids just really responding to it. They're begging for it every day, and so we really try to put that in there. So, for sure, just giving them the opportunity. Not all schools have 40 guitars sitting there with a drum set in their classroom, it's a real privilege and great opportunity to have that.
Absolutely. So unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. I would like to thank our incredible guest, Mr. Shane Hipwell, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, listeners, for tuning into this episode.
If you want to watch some of our music videos from last year's past, visit our Vimeo page, which is linked off of our homepage. Thank you for joining us. Special thank you to Dominic, who's on tech.
We are your hosts, Emerson
and Cheyenne.
Goodbye.